Yes, so let's start today's webinar on Chanakya's leadership principles for the 21st century. And we know leadership is a subject of serious study, discussion, and research globally. Our two panelists, speakers, faculty are some of the eminent scholars on Chanakya who lived in the 4th century before the Common Era. He was a visionary who understood the principles of effective leadership. His pioneering ideas are relevant for contemporary leaders trying to address the challenges of our time. Relevant for leaders, relevant for regular folks, and relevant for you. That's why you're joining, right? Chanakya's book, Kautilya's Arthashastra, contains 6,000 sutras, aphorisms that cover various aspects of leadership and self-management that are essential to study. So how can a text written 2,300 years ago be relevant today? Well, the frameworks, models, and principles were definitely effective then, and the Indian tradition to lead, manage, and it's definitely effective now. And these timeless principles can be reinterpreted and reinvented to address current challenges. And so that's what we're going to use. That's what we're going to do in this webinar. Dr. Radhakrishna Pillai and Sri Pranav Bhai, I call him Pranav Bhai, Sri Pranav Patel, will introduce their research, their work on Chanakya, and will present how that ancient wisdom is relevant for contemporary leaders today. So that's kind of the background of today's webinar. I'm Ankur Patel, the Director of Outreach for Hindu University of America. If you haven't yet, please let us know where you're zooming in from. We've got Sri Tirunagari from Hyderabad. We have Dr. Kadek Surpiji from Hindu State University of Gusti Bagas, Sugriwa, in Indonesia, in Bali. Glad to have you with us. What is this? Nachiket Ji from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you for joining. And now let me introduce our wonderful faculty. So let's start with Dr. Radhakrishna Pillai, who is a PhD holder from the University of Mumbai's Department of Philosophy, specializing in Kautilya's Arthashastra. He is an accomplished leader and trainer across various fields, including corporate, politics, academia, and the military. I'm sure he's going to share some anecdotes and stories about how he's shared with all these different areas and people. He's also got an MA in Sanskrit and a PhD in Arthashastra. He's a certified management consultant. Dr. Pillai is the director at SPM Foundation and the founder director of Atma Darshan Private Limited and Chanakya Anvikshiki Private Limited. I still remember I took this course and just learning about the concept of Anvikshiki is amazing. And I know we're going to get into that too, as well. He's the first time I couldn't even say the word. He is the deputy director of Chanakya International Institute of Leadership Studies at the University of Mumbai. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Radhakrishna Pillai. And of course, we've got Sri Pranav Patel, Pranav Bhai, I affectionately say. He's now a leadership developer and authority. Well, he has been authority on Kautilya's Arthashastra. He's now a new position just recently, program director at the School of Ultimate Leadership, Seoul. He leads impactful leadership programs, curates the Global Leadership Conclave, and drives capacity building initiatives with the government and with Hindu University of America. We're trying to build our capacity across the board so that we can share Sanatan Dharma and so much interesting and important information. He's a former founder, CEO, and director in leadership development organizations. He holds advanced degrees in leadership science and Kautilya Arthashastra from the University of Mumbai. His work has earned him an international fellowship in election campaign management and recognition for fostering ethical governance and transformational leadership. This dynamic duo of Pranav Bhai, Sri Pranav Patel, and Dr. Radhakrishna Pillai are at the forefront of bringing Kautilya, of Chanakya, of the Arthashastra into the contemporary times. And so with that, let me hand it over to, I think Pranav Bhai will get us started. And then we have a whole presentation. We'll take your questions, we'll engage. And in the meantime, please share with us where you're zooming in from in the chat. And as the webinar progresses, we'll will engage you directly as the audience. So with that, thank you. Let's get started on today's webinar.
Thank you, Ankur Bhai, for this wonderful introduction. And it's always an honor and a pleasure to do this webinar with Hindu University America. And I would say for me, it's very emotional because there's one program which I get to do I would say, in coordination with my teacher, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, my teacher, my guru, person who taught me Kautilya's Arthashastra. So I really love doing these sessions because I get to work with my teacher on this program, and that's why it's very special for me. We've been doing this for a while now, so yes, we've been doing this program. This is, I think, the seventh or the eighth batch that we are doing, Winter 2025, which would be talking about. But then this webinar that we're doing also makes it special in that context that we've been regularly been doing and people have been attending. There's so many people now in touch with us whom we speak regularly in terms of their day-to-day challenges and things where we keep discussing about Kautilya's Arthashastra. So this webinar has really been a very important spoke in our lives, giving us really a very good connect to people all across the world, not only just America. Though it's Hindu University of America, we do have people, students all across from Japan. I see someone from Indonesia joining this time. We had someone from Australia, Dubai, United Kingdom, and obviously, yes, United States of America and India for sure, always. So, really an honor and a pleasure to be doing this webinar. I would want my teacher, Dr. Pillai, to please speak something first, and then we'll go on to the presentation for the day.
Thank you so much, Ankurji. Thank you so much, Pranavji. So 2 Patels and 1 Pillai. So it's a PPP model. So thank you so much. Let me begin by wishing all of you a happy new year. Year 2025 has begun. And I want to tell you 2 things about the year 2025, which many of you must have known, but in a busy schedule, we must have forgotten. Number one, this is the year when generation beta has taken birth. So if you look at social psychology or social sciences, it is said that generation alpha technically ends in the year 2024. So the generation that is born between 2025 1st of January till 2039, which is 15 years, will be called generation beta. All of them will be born with technology, but one step ahead, their challenges will be different. They are all going to be born in a global generation. I don't think they'll differentiate between somebody in Australia and USA and India. Even though we can say very proudly that we are all from Indian origin, that's fine. But reality is that it's a globalized generation. Their challenges will be climate change. Their challenges will be how to make the planet more greener. They'll be using more AI than us. So these are all, a new generation that's already there. And most of us would be actually parenting and grandparenting that particular generation. So welcome to a new generation, 2025 generation beta. But second important thing from our perspective, Swami Vivekananda said this. Yes, and when I say Swami Vivekananda, he is the one who took Indian and Hindu culture across the globe. Specifically, we remember his world's favorite speech at the Parliament of Religions, My Dear Sisters and Brothers of America. Yesterday was his birthday, and for Americans, it's still today because it's 12th of January. Is his birthday, which is celebrated as a National Youth Day. And almost 100 years ago, he predicted that year 2025 will be India's year for global leadership. India's year for global leadership. When I heard this almost 10 years ago, this is pre-pandemic, and people said, how to 2025, we are still a developing country and all those things. And is it true? I believe that, saints have their own way of predicting futures. And I always quote this. He's the one who predicted that India will get freedom from the Britishers in the year 1947, almost 50 years ago, before India got freedom. And he was specific. He was specific that it will be 1947. And he was specific about the year 2025. So we are here. And the first child being born in this part of the world, and all the children being born in different parts of the world will be global leaders. And even if they don't have an Indian passport or a birth certificate, they definitely will have an Indian approach. And therefore, the message of the Vedanta and maybe all the Indian values, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Arthashastra, all this definitely matters for every child born anywhere from 2025. So, and it's not just about power game, it's also about the knowledge era. I think as a nation, as a culture, as a civilization, the Indians and Hinduism believed in Vasudeva Kutumbakam. It is not just a slogan, it's not just an Upanishadic statement, it's something that we truly believe in. So, as Pranav sir was pointing out, as Ankur sir was pointing out, we have a global audience already here. So, make sure that the year 2025 onwards, we actually live and imbibe these values, not just only as a formal course, but as a part of our life, which will spread across the world. So thank you so much once again for joining in, and we'll be starting it. This our seventh batch, as we said. We also enjoy this, and for me, it's a pride to take a class along with students. In fact, Ankurji also attended the class, but the thing is that a student was better than the teacher. So Pranav sir teaching at various IITs, and of course now heading an institution in Gujarat, which is a very important project for India also. We'll speak about it during the course also. So without wasting much time, once again, welcome on board. And I like to conclude by my favorite saying. Come in as a student of Chanakya, go out as a teacher of Chanakya. Come in to learn Chanakya, but you have to also go out as a teacher of Chanakya. That's your responsibility. Thank you so much. Over to you, Pranav sir.
Thank you very much, sir. So yes, as sir said, we all are now in 2025. The beta generation is taking birth in in this time. But then let's go back from beta generation to 2,400 years, and then look into what the Kautilyan generation was like, and what did they think of, and how was the world at that point of time. So we'll go back to the Kautilyan generation from beta generation here, and go and explore a bit of history and understand how the world was at that point of time. And when we see, why do we read history? Because it's important to understand the past so that we can then look at the future, right? So it's like looking in the past is like looking at the rear mirror. It gives us an understanding of what all roads we have passed, but then the windshield, which is there on the car, gives us the larger vision of what's coming ahead. So always studying history makes us a good, I would say, analyst to understand how things happen, but at the same time also gives us that foresight into the future, where we can probably understand and see how things will unfold. So more we study what's happened in the past, we will be able to predict how things will happen in the future as well. So let's try and see how things were, at least in this short session that we will be doing in terms of understanding how the world was 2,400 years back. So starting with, let me just put on the slides for the program here. Chanakya's 21 leadership principle for the 21st century. That is what we're doing as a program. And now, again, as I said, let's go 2,400 years back. But then there are a few things which we've been hearing and listening. So yes, Chanakya, who is this person whom we're talking of, and what is this 2,400 years that we're talking of in that context? So let's look at a few things in terms of when we're talking of Chanakya, in terms of who he was, who this man was about whom we've been talking. When did he live? So yes, I'm talking of a particular era. And when was this exactly as an era? So we'll look and have a little understanding in that. What did he do? What is it that significant work that he do that we are even talking about him today after so many years? You know, the Indian history is rich, it is long, it is vast, but at the same time, there are a lot of important aspects and important events in the history, and that is what we will be exploring here. So what did he in particular, Chanakya, did in his life, and then why is he a legend? So what is that remarkable work that he has done that we call him a legend as on date as well? So going on to the first question, what does history tell us about him? Known by three different names, Vishnugupta, Kautilya, and Chanakya. The reason why I put in this slide always in our presentations is don't get confused when we too, by in a subconscious mind, uh, use either of the name. The same person known by three different names. Vishnugupta is more of the given name, so his birth certificate, passport has this name. Kautilya would be his scholarly name, which was there. Kautilya's Arthashastra, we'll be referring to that. We'll be looking to that more in detail going ahead. But Kautilya, as his scholarly name, comes in from the Gotra that he belongs to. The Kutila Gotra is the Gotra which we are talking of. Indian lineage system to know which a family of rishis we belong to, or which I would say school of thoughts we all belong to. There's a long discussion we can have on Gotras, but then yes, Kotila was the Gotra which he belonged to, and that is why the name Kautilya comes into picture. And the name Chanakya, the claim to fame name, the famous a word which we all, I mean, keep talking about. It's a slang which has become, hey, he's using Chanakya Niti somewhere. He's thinking like Chanakya there. So the name Chanakya comes in as a claim to fame name, basically because of his father, whose name was Chanakya, Chanakaputra Chanakya. His father was also a teacher of political science, an acharya. So when you say acharya, he was a principal of an institute which used to teach political science in that sense. So these are the three names. Don't get confused. We will subconsciously flip flop and we'll be using each of them somewhere or the other. Going ahead, quickly looking into what history tells us about Chanakya, vowed to pull down the Nanda dynasty. Dhananand was the king. We would have heard of this particular story which is there, and a lot of people talk about Chanakya in that sense that, Chanakya was the one who brought down Dhananand, who was the last king of the Nanda dynasty. And he had this thing where he took this pratigna, as we say, the vow which he took, where he had the ponytail. So Brahmins in Indian culture have the ponytail, or the shikha, as we say, which is a very important part of their daily routine or their daily, I would say, rituals which they follow. When they do their puja, or when they're doing certain sacrifices every day, they tie the pony in a particular manner. They remove the pony and do certain practices with that. Uh, However, he took that vow that, till the time I don't bring down this particular evil, I would not say evil, but then bad administrator, the Nananda who was there, who was a very selfish king in that sense. If you look at the serial Chanakya, I would suggest all of you to do that. In fact, students joining our program always are asked to see the serial Chanakya at 47 episodes. It's like binge watching something on Netflix. Just go and watch 47 episodes, and with subtitles now also available. So that's one exercise. That's when in that exercise which we do, we see how the Nanand was a challenge, was a problem to the whole administration of Magad as a kingdom at that point of time. So he was the one who said, I will not tie this shikha, I will not tie my ponytail till the time I bring down this particular king. And when he says this, why does he do that? Why does he say, I will not tie this? How does it make a difference, right? So understand, in our culture, we have this one a practice which we follow, that if I have to achieve something, if I have a goal in mind which I want to achieve, I'll tie it down to a habit of mine, right? So, for example, if I have a habit of getting up in the morning and having a hot cup of chai, okay, I will say, till the time I don't finish such and such work, I will not have the cup of chai. But then what happens in that case is, I feel, my body tells me, my mind tells me, it's time to have chai, it's time to have chai, right? But then at the same time, my mind is also telling me, oh, you cannot have chai because you have to go and finish that one job which you have to do. Right, so that you tie your goals to your habits, and that's when it constantly reminds you of what you have to achieve in life. And the same manner, when he would have in the morning got up after taking his bath with his wet hair, he wanted to dry his hair and tie it up. He would say, "Oh, I cannot tie my hair down because I have to bring down the Anand." That's the thing which is so. So he's always reminding himself constantly, again and again, of what he has to do in life, and that's when wow, which is been thought of, and he made it happen. A small, I would not say small, but just a person with nothing in his hands, no wealth, nothing, no power, just a teacher of political science in an institute, bringing down a mighty, mighty Dhanananda, who was the ruler of Magad kingdom at that point of time. So that is what Chanakya is. The history tells us this part about him. He not only brings down Dhananand, but he also installs the right king, the rightest king, his student himself, Chandragupta Maurya, the king who was taught, who was trained by Chanakya, who was the one in the rightest manner. So here, Chanakya not only tells us what is wrong or what is not the right thing to do, but at the same time also explains and expresses and also shows in practical application that what a righteous king is all about. So two things to understand here. One is bringing down someone or fighting a war is one kind of an art, and then running a kingdom or administrating and particular organization is a different job altogether. I always talk about this when we do our corporate programs that, doing sales is very a different science. Going and getting clients, going and acquiring the market is a different science altogether as compared to operations where you have to deliver the product, the quality product which you have promised, which was promised, I would say, by your sales team or the marketing team, which goes out. And the marketing team at times to win the client promises a lot of things. I will get you this, I'll get you that, I'll make this happen for you, I'll give you that kind of product, this kind of product. And then eventually the operation says, oh, how will you make it possible? So there's always this tussle which we see between operations and sales, and I'm sure people in business or people in working with corporates here will very regularly see these challenges happening in their boardrooms, in the discussion room between sales and operations, where two opposite ends, one promising big things and the other one saying how to deliver it. So that's when we need to find that balance. And Chanakya very nicely depicts this in this particular example, which we see that he not only brought down, he not only fought the war and made Dharan lose, but also made Chandragupta Maurya his king, the rightest king in that sense, to govern in the right manner. Right. Third thing, very important thing, Alexander the Great. We all have known about him, his story, his past. Someone who started from Babylon, which is in today's time Greece. From there, he went on to acquire the whole piece of the Middle Eastern Asia, which we say the West Asia or Middle East, which we talk from the American perspective. So starting from, say, Greece, went down, captured the whole of Lebanon and the Israel part of it, which we talk today, Egypt, and going ahead, capturing Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan, the whole troubled area, which we talk of. In today's time, Alexander was the one-handedly, single-handedly ruled that whole thing. He captured that area, starting when he reached till Pakistan, which was that day, in those days, India, the United India, which we talk of in that sense. And there, Chanakya was ready with an army of 16 different kingdoms, 16 different kings, putting all their differences within them aside, and then bringing along a united army to stand against Alexander. And just by looking at the size of the army, Alexander's people, his warriors, his army men, everyone lost the confidence, and they're, oh, we cannot fight such a big army of elephants and camels and things like that. So Chatur Anga, the Shatranja, as we say, the Chatur Angas is what Chanakya talks of. He put together this army based on those principles out there, and was responsible for Alexander getting defeated, Alexander getting wounded, and from there Alexander goes back, and on his way back he dies as he was returning back home. So Chanakya was the person who was responsible. The whole concept of the united army. We talk of NATO today, or different alliances which are there, the military alliances which we talk of, or even for that matter, and alliances between states, or the whole concept of federal or union of states comes in from here. It is the first of its kind which we see, where Ganarajyas or small Rajyas come together and form a Rashtra. So Rashtra versus Rajya as a concept is what is being seen in what Chanakya talks of in this context. Ashoka, India's first global emperor. Obviously, Chanakya has also trained Ashoka, Chandragupta Maurya's grandson. Chandragupta Maurya's son was Bindusara, and his son Ashoka, who was trained by Chanakya as well, went on to become the first global emperor in the world. And obviously, how did he become the global emperor? Obviously, not by capturing the whole world, not saying that this country belongs to me, that country belongs to me. I will buy out this country. I will buy out this canal. I will name this, bay as my bay. Not in that context, but in the way he created his influence all across the world, in that sense. And how did he create that influence? Was by saying that, we are together, or is someone who can really, and the tool he used for that was Buddhism as a concept, in that sense, where people were given that way of life which he spoke of. And this is what we talk of as softer power. How do you influence? And Chanakya differentiates this, in that sense, where he not only just forcefully captures something, that's harder power, but there is a softer power which we talk of in terms of creating an influence across the world, in that sense. And what do we say? There's one question she asked: what is India's strength for so many years, and Indian or the cultural strength that we have? Is the softer power. What is India known for? India is known for its food. India is known for its culture. India is known for spirituality. India is known for religion. India is known for the vibrant colors that we have, and the kind of festival. The Kumbh Mela is coming up, so the kind of festivals that we celebrate. So this is what India is known for. And then India would say, who are India's friends? And we would say almost everyone. And who's India's enemy? Maybe hardly one. We can name, or one and a half. The half also, I don't know, will not cease to exist very soon. But then we talk of that one and a half countries which are the enemies of India. Apart from that, rest of the world. So we also call India as Vishwamitra, right? The friend of the world. We are friends to all, and we are the ones who, as a culture, have always been the one who have been able to sort out disputes between countries and then bring in peace. Starting from, Chanakya's time, Ashoka's time, do we talk of, or for that matter, even Mahatma Gandhi, or even for today's present time, and Honorable Prime Minister has been the one who's been really seen as a friend to all, and the one who has been able to really find out at least some solution of peace somewhere around the world. So then that all comes in as a culture. We are a softer power is the strength of India, and it's been there in our culture, and that's what was seen in Ashoka's dealing at that point of time as well. Obviously, most important, he not only did something in practicality, but he also documented it. And that's when he was, I would say, he was not only street smart, but also book smart. So he wrote down 3 treatises: Kautilya, Arthashastra, Chanakya Niti, and Praniti Sutras. These are the 3 known to us in his name. So we'll get quickly into details of this 3 as we go ahead. But these were the 3 which he did. So he wrote it down and created as a text. So there are a few things about him. I will go into the 3 texts quickly ahead, but then before that, I would like Dr. Pillai to, sir, please share your thoughts here as well.
So first of all, thanks a lot for giving a historical perspective. As we were discussing, what do the generation beta learn from the past? But we also have to learn first. One requirement of generation beta is they require guidance, coaching, and mentoring. Even though they will be born in a world of technology, a world of information, real-time access to everything that they want, quick deliveries to on-time deliveries, etc. It's very important we guide them. And I always say this, we are a strange culture. Indians and Bharatiya culture is very strange. Our future depends on the past. So it's unlike most of the civilizations, they only talk about future, future, future. Of course, future is important, but here is something that history can teach us, our past can teach us. In this particular webinar that we are doing, we are specifically only talking about one person, that's Chanakya. But let's understand Chanakya is one among many. His representation of many thinkers who came. We have great acharyas, we will see that as we go ahead, who are in the same space. And there's so many lessons that we can learn from his life. Now, if you look at this 5 to 6 points that has been covered, what is it? Take an oath in life, take a sankalpa. As our Prime Minister says, sankalp se siddhi. Your life should be worth living. And even after you die, your work should go on. So Swami Vivekananda, whom we spoke about, actually institutionalized knowledge. So Chanakya took an oath that I will do something which will last beyond. Even today, the documentation is helping us. So take an oath, take a sankalp. It doesn't matter what your age is. Of course, the more you start early, it's better. But even if you are so called at the fag end of your career, you can still start something new to leave a legacy and share your knowledge. Don't just be leaders, be leadership creators. We have Pranav over here who is a leadership creator also. So create leaders. A leader actually creates more leaders. Responsible for the defeat of Alexander. What's the learning? Whatever be the problem can be big, the size of the problem can be very big, but if you have strategy on your side, if you have a right thinking, which we call as anvikshiki. Ankur sir said, he never heard about this word anvikshiki, neither did I. But at the end of this program, you'll understand that's something that's very interesting and very important to have strategic thinking for defeating bigger problems. From a spiritual standpoint, there's a very famous saying: don't tell God how big the problem is. Tell the problem how big God is. So with Chanakya on your side and strategy on your side, no Alexander can defeat you. So that's the learning. We learn the strategies as we go ahead. But remember, it's all here. Ashoka leaving a legacy beyond Chandragupta Maurya. And even today in Japan, the organizations work on Chanakya's philosophies. Whenever you get a time, please Google the world's oldest companies or the companies with the maximum longevities actually come from Japan. Yeah. So almost 8 out of 10, imagine 80% of the world's oldest companies come from Japan. So what's so common? There's a company, it has lasted for 1,400 years. So they have systematically institutionalized what is called leadership succession. So yes, Chandragupta Maurya, Ashoka. After that also you see a lot of people using the principles even today. So when you build something, as Jim Collins says, build to last. It's not just about 2 or 3 generations, it's beyond that. And finally, whatever you do, document it. You know, documentation is something that has inspired me also personally. Written 24 books on Chanakya, and I know this. That's helping a lot of people across the globe also. So, friends, every story, every event in Chanakya's life is an inspiration for us and for the future generations. We'll continue. Pranav sir, over to you.
Thank you, sir. We'll move ahead from here and quickly look into the writing works which we spoke of Chanakya. So, yes, when did he live? So, we talk of 4th century BC. I already mentioned 2400 years back is what we're talking of. This is not a history class, so we will not get into debate of whether 320 or whether 325 BC, but that is a period, that's the era which we are looking at. 4th century BC is what we're talking of. 3 treatises, 3 books, 3 masterpieces, as I say, written by him: Kautilya's Arthashastra, Chanakya Niti, and the Chanakya Sutrani, or Praniti Sutras, as we say. Kautilya Arthashastra by itself has 15 sub books. This is where our focus of the program would be. This is where we will be focusing during our session, or also during the program which we are going to talk of. But then it's a library in itself, something 15 books. Not only 15 books, if we go ahead and understand 150 chapters and 180 sections, 180 different topics is what this particular book covers in that sense. And then what number of sutras it covers? 6,000 sutras. 6,000 sutras. Anyone over here would like to answer in the chat box quickly in terms of how many shlokas are there in Bhagavad Gita? In the group out here, people attending, would anyone like to share how many shlokas are there in Bhagavad Gita? I'm waiting for a response. Naganath says, and Dr. Suripi says 700. Yes, so 700 shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, and here we're talking of 6,000 sutras. That's this I would say gives you at least an understanding of what wide text, how big text is what we're talking of in terms of Kautilya Arthashastra, which is there. And he covers multiple different things. We'll be focusing on that. We'll get in detail as we go ahead. Second thing is Chanakya Niti, the claim to fame, and the very famous book, one sitting book, 17 chapters, 455 sutras, more focus towards personal life, towards how Samaj or the society should be, how relationships should be in society, how people in society should behave, how some of the guiding principles for behavioral, I would say, understanding of the Samaj or the society, or how families behave, how relationship between father son, relationship between husband wife, relationship between brothers, different things he talks of in that sense. Very famous thing. In fact, sir has also written a commentary on that. I would say this is a one sitting book. A lot of you can just pick up the book, read, and finish it off. It's so enticing that you will not be able to get up from your place. Just keep reading it and finish it off in one sitting. So Chanakya Niti is there. And obviously Praniti Sutras or Chanakya Sutrani has 6 chapters, 571 sutras out there. These are one-liners, use, I would say, more of principles given in that sense. Starts with the first one where it says Sukhasya Moolam Dharmaha. So, if you want to be sukhi, you want to be happy in life, then follow dharmic path, do dharmic activities, do the righteous things in life, and you will be happy. If you don't deviate from the righteous principles in life, if you don't do things which are not right, you will be happy in that sense. But then what Chanakya says further, he says dharmasya moolam artha. So if you really want to be on the dharmic path, if you really want to follow dharma in that sense, then you have to be right, having artha for that as well. You need to have, even if you want to do a donation, you need to have money. You need to set up a school. You want to set up an education institute, a hospital, and community service center. You still need money for that. So dharmasya moolam artha. So it goes on and on. We are not focusing on that right now, but that is what Praniti Sutras are all about. As contrary to both of them, Kautilya Arthashastra is more of a text on Rajaniti Shastra in terms of how the kingdom should be governed, how the kingdom should be run, how to go and fight a war, how to protect your kingdom, how foreign policy works. We'll get into quick detail of that as we go ahead, but it is more of how to run a kingdom. This is text written by Kautilya, obviously from his experience in terms of how when he did all of this in his life, but more focused towards teaching people political science, and especially the prince who is going to become the king or the crown prince, in that sense that here you're ready now to take up the reins of the kingdom. This is, you're going to now become the next king. So these are things which you need to keep in mind. These are things which you need to learn in that sense. So it's more of a postgraduate program which we see. Oops, is something which popped up. Yeah. Okay, so the postgraduate program which we see, where it is seen that the prince has already studied in the Gurukul, he studied the three Vedas, he studied a bit of economics in that sense, and things like that, and then he comes, he knows what Anvikshiki, as sir mentioned, is there, and then he's been taught of how to go about governance. So I would say this is more of a postgraduate program or a book which is there in that sense from that angle. Quickly going on to the next slide, showing you the Kautilya Arthashastra, even available in present day. You can go and see this is the text which was found in 1905 in Mysore. Some Pandit came and gave it to R. Shama Shastri, who was a librarian of the Oriental Library in Mysore. And from there, the whole thing, the text was lost for some period of time, because obviously we all know of the history, the way things were burned down, Indian knowledge system was broken down. There was a systemic approach towards changing the whole education system, and in that sense, Kautilya Arthashastra was also lost. But in 1905, we rediscovered it, and then from there, the whole thing started. So there's a picture. You can go and see the original one available in Mysore if you're visiting Mysore any time of the period. Whenever you're going there, please visit the Oriental Library and go and see this. For me, it's like going and visiting a holy place and a temple. I would always like to go and take blessings of the Shastra, because the Shastra Krupa has happened, and would love to be there. It was also known as the Book of Economics. So we talk of Arthashastra. In fact, for me, Arthashastra initially thought of as a book of economics, and that's how I got attracted to the book. I was into finance, I was into banking, and then Arthashastra, and I thought it is economics from that perspective. But then that is where the bhasha ka antar happened. The distance, you cannot translate everything literally from one language to the other. So, but then obviously Arthashastra talks of economics. It talks of statecraft as in Rajaniti Shastra, how to govern a kingdom, punishment as in Dandaniti Shastra, warfare as in Yuddhaniti, and strategy as Anvikshiki, which we spoke of. So there are a few things we call Kautilya Arthashastra by in that sense. We go on to the next slide, but then from there, I would like Sir to please share his thoughts and views and maybe give his inputs as well. So over to you from here.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sorry, I think I had gone on mute. Yeah. So before I start on the different books available, two things I like to mention. Number one is that, there's a student who attended one of these previous courses at HUA, and he messaged me that he actually went to Mysore University and he was able to see the Arthashastra. So hopefully all of you also get inspired, and it doesn't matter which part of the world you are. Whenever you are in India, next time take a ticket to Mysore, go to the Oriental Research Library, take a better photograph and send it to us. So yes, we are also inspired. So you should also get inspired. So it's like, Tirtha Yatra. Otherwise, we feel that all these are just mental imagination, something that may be created by somebody. No, there is an important fact that still exists. Of course, when you read this in a Tadapatri or palm leaf, you may not understand much because the language is a little bit different. And of course, we don't have the idea of reading these books. But thanks to R.P. Kangleji and other scholars who are doing a very wonderful work by actually translating this into a language that we can understand. To begin with, Shama Shastri translated this into modern day English. And with our generation, we're also digitalizing it. So, yes, this book is still available. Second important fact, as Pranavsar said, lot of knowledge systems were burnt out. There was no digital era. There could not be too much of a backups being taken. So physically, lot of knowledge was lost. But my teacher used to tell me, don't worry about what is lost. Be worried about what is remaining. So what are we doing? Okay, so take up one book and read it. So even if 99.99% is lost, 0.01% is something that you can study. And knowledge is like a seed. There's a saying, inside a seed there is a forest. What is inside a seed? Not a tree. A tree can produce many more seeds, and many more seeds, many more trees. Finally becomes a forest. So yes, we just saw the three major books, Chanakya Niti, Arthashastra, Praniti Sutra. But we are only taking one book to begin with. But imagine the kind of wisdom. And you'll be surprised, India's wisdom is interconnected. It's interdisciplinary and it's also polymathic in nature. One subject has got multiple subjects. So even though we are talking about leadership, it's got management, it's got military science. It in fact has also got sciences like astrology, astronomy. All those things, of course, we not cover up. But I would suggest that take one and go beyond one to understand the whole knowledge system. So Arthashastra is definitely the book that we'll be focusing on. But Chanakya was a polymath, and his wisdom is available for us in the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll go a little more detail of Kautilya Arthashastra. Here we call it a book on leadership or total management. If you've been attending any leadership programs, the first thing everyone talks of these days is they'll say there is a difference between leadership and management. And yes, Kautilya Arthashastra definitely makes us understand that how leadership is different from management. And that is why we call it a book on leadership. Because it talks about how the leader has to be. First of all, it focuses on the person himself. We'll get into that detail here. So it's called the Book of Total Management or Leadership in that perspective. Talks largely of 5 different concepts if we have to divide the 15 books into fundamentals of management. So it talks first about how to manage, how to govern a kingdom, starting with self-management of the leader to his immediate immediate second in command to his people around in his palace. Then going on to defining how different departments, different organizations, I would say different ministries or different I would say sections of a particular organization or a kingdom should be in that sense. So he breaks it down into multiple small topics in that sense. Going ahead, he talks of economics. Obviously, governing a kingdom, governing an organization requires understanding of economics, law, of how to run a kingdom. So, law and order. Obviously, you have a kingdom in place, an organization in place, but then you need some laws, the bylaws, what will happen, what will not happen, how to manage it. All that has been spoken about in terms of law. Then further, once he is there, he talks of foreign policy, how to deal with another kingdom or how to deal with another king, another organization in that sense. And then obviously, if there's a conflict when you're dealing with the other one, how to manage war as well. So these are five things which he covers in that sense. Describe specialized sciences like gemology, Ayurveda, architecture, etc., etc., etc. As we said, this 180 sections is like a library in itself. It's covered multiple different topics. Things like, you'll see visa system, passport system, accounting systems, laws on LGBTQ. Imagine I was doing my regular abhyasa, and I found out that Chanakya has spoken about relationship between same sex. And I was like, oh my God, 2300 years back, is there an evidence to put it? Yes, there is. He's written down in the scriptures in that sense. So, multiple different aspects. We have mentioned few years like gemology, Ayurveda, architecture, etc. In that sense, it survives the test of time as the book has worked on based on the psychology of humans. So, how people think, how humans behave is the focus of Kautilya Arthashastra as compared to, any particular a person or any particular time or any particular object for that matter. So, it survived the test of time. It's because it focuses on the psychology of humans. There are 15 books of Kautilya Arthashastra which I have put across for everyone to just browse through. I'm going to quickly run through them, keeping the importance of time in mind. I'll just take 5 minutes to run through this and give you all an idea. First one is concerning the topic of training, where he talks of in Vinaya Adhikarikam, where he says, this is what the leader, the king should learn. This is what he should be trained upon. Second, I was speaking about activities of the head of departments, so different departments of an organization or kingdom in that sense. Further, when this organization departments are put in place, law and order, so concerning judges, how the whole judicial system works in that sense. So how law and order works, how courts work, how justice system works, all that is focused in book 3. Book 4 goes more into suppression of criminals. So when there is an country, when there's a state, or even for that matter, a small organization, there will be some characters, some antisocial elements, some or the other criminal activities which will happen. How to curtail it down, how to manage it, how to suppress it is what he focuses on. Book 4. Book 5 more goes into secret conduct. Chanakya is known for his spying system which he had, well, not the Pegasus of the world which we talk of, but in terms of the king's way of getting information, his network of information, how he's developed this network of information, what are different networks of information collection, gathering, which is there. So that secret conduct comes into book 5. Book 6 is where I would say more of Kautilya Arthashastra gets divided into two parts. According to me, the up till book 6, Kautilya focuses on the internal part of an organization. He looks at the leader, he looks at different departments, how to run them, how to govern them. And then in book 6, he gives us an outside in view of the organization. So right now we're looking at inside, then he gives us an outside in view that from outside, the organization looks like this. And that's when he gives us the Saptanga philosophy. We will focus on that Saptanga philosophy in our program and also get into quickly as we go ahead. But then Saptanga philosophy is where he gives us an outside in view of an organization and also gives us an understanding in Circle of Kings in terms of how does one organization interact with other or one state interact with others. So foreign policies introduction comes in there. dushman ka dushman dost, enemies a friend. That thought comes in because of this philosophy which he's spoken of in book 6 Mandaliyoni, which is it. Book 7 more again on foreign policies, but then dealing of foreign policies, different ways, dealing in different situations. How do you go and interact? What are the different tools? What are the different methods you use in terms of dealing with the other? In that sense, we also use this when we do programs on conflict management, how to manage conflicts between two different organizations or different people for that sense. Then going ahead concerning the topic of calamities, so man-made and natural calamity, whether it is the HMVA virus, which is coming in, or the COVID virus, which was there, which is man-made calamity, as we talk of, or is natural calamities like a tsunami or maybe an earthquake or something, or famine which has come in. So how do you manage during calamities? What does a leader do when there is crisis situation? Is what this book 8 focuses on. Book 9 is more to do with the activities of the king about to march. So when he's about, how do you prepare yourself before going into any kind of conflict or any kind of war situation? Book 10 focuses more on war strategies. So how actually you will do those formations or do different kind of activities or concerning war, what steps you will take while fighting, and what you will avoid, what you will focus upon. If you would have seen the movie Bahubali, you would have seen that there is a Trishula formation which they talk of. Where Trishula is two of the princes go from the sides, and then Katappa is going in from between. That's a structure which we talk of. Different formations are there in war strategies, which Chanakya also speaks of, like the snake formation or the Garuda formation, or different formations which are there. So concerning that, let's focus on that. Sanghavrittam, very important. Policy towards oligarchies. Oligarchies means what? Oligarchies are small group of people holding large set of power, right? Some small group, 10, 15, 20 people holding humongous power within them. In fact, we just saw, right? During the memorial, there were 5 American presidents who were sitting together day before yesterday. I'm sure most of you would have seen that photograph, the reel, which was there. 5 presidents of United States in one photograph at one spot together, along with, I would also say, Hillary Clinton and also Kamala Harris. So they're contenders also in that same frame. So imagine that one picture is such a powerful picture. So small group of people having huge set of power from that perspective. How to make those, how to deal with those, how to break those, all those Chanakya discusses in this particular chapter, which is policy towards oligarchs. Going ahead concerning the weaker king. So I can't always be the stronger one. I can't always, I am the best. No, there can be times when someone is weaker. So if you are the weaker one, if you are the weaker king, how do you behave? How do you manage yourself at that point of time? How do you protect yourself, but at the same time also nurture and also grow and make yourself stronger over a period of time in that sense? So concerning the weaker king, means of taking a fort. So how to go and acquire. Mergers and acquisitions is where we use this principles a lot. How to go and acquire another organization, another company, and then integrate the cultures. Capturing a fort is very easy. Going and capturing land is very easy. But then after capturing, the internal cultural differences, internal disputes which are there, internal the enmity which people would have against the king who is acquiring. How do you manage those? Is Chanakya focuses on that. So when two companies merge, there are a lot of organizational differences, cultural differences between two. How do you manage those? Is what we focus on, and that is what Chanakya has uh, given in this book. Concerning secret practices, certain practices which he talks of, which is only known to the ones who are running the kingdom. So a lot of, I would say, public servants, when they take up their public services, they talk of is a secrecy code. So few information is not made public to everyone. It is just kept within the I would say the governing a group which is there, and that's what he talks of in this, and why it is important, how it is to be done, is all been focused. And then obviously book number 15 talks of the method of sciences as more, or I would say research methodology. how did he go about writing this whole gigantic treatise of 6,000 sutras? Where did he get all his information? First, all the references refers to Purvacharya. So it is Kautilya Arthashastra is not the first Arthashastra. It's a lot of Arthashastras written before. So a lot of reference work he's done there. Purvacharyas he speaks of, and that is what is in book 15 out there. And then, I mean, that's what brings us to the end of introduction to the Kautilya Arthashastra. That's what I will stop. I would want Sir to share his thoughts. And then maybe, sir, if you would like, I would like you to take us run through the Saptanga philosophy once in a couple of minutes, and then we can open up for some discussion and question answers from there.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Professor. So you saw the introduction itself is a class. In fact, we say, if you look at, we're just given an overall view on what is Saptanga, but overall view of what the Arthashastra contains. There are some, I would say, a few important data points or topics that we actually like to cover in detail. Saptanga being one of them, Anvikshiki being one of them, Vijigishu being one of them. So among thousands of ideas, we have handpicked a few for the course that we're coming up. But let me also tell you, let's not limit. There's a lot of reading material available, and we should continue beyond the 4 or 5 things that we are learning. But definitely, as they say, start from somewhere. So I think a Saptanga is a good start to understand Chanakya's frameworks, but it's not just Saptanga. There are many more frameworks and what we call thinking models. There are many more thinking models in Arthashastra that will help us solve modern day problems. So, Pranav sir, we can start as you suggested. Okay. So, with the prayer Om Namah Shukra Brahaspatibhyam Saptanga, I'll quickly go through it and request you to just maybe make notes, physical, digital, mental. Mental notes can also be taken, but for a beginner, it's always better to make a physical note, or you can even click a picture of this. Sapta Anga. Sapta is 7, and Sanskrit Anga is parts of a kingdom. We call it business here because we're looking at application business. Book number 6, chapter number 1, sutra number 1. So reference is there. Swami Amatya Janapada Durga Kosha Danda Mitrani Prakriteyaha. 7 things put together makes a great kingdom. What are the 7? The Swami or the king. The king cannot run it alone, so he requires ministers, Amatya, Janapada. What is a kingdom without citizens? Praja. So that's Janapada. Swami, Amatya, Janapada, Durga, the fortified city. In the olden days, the kingdom was in a fortified cities. Look at movies like Troy or an Indian movie like Bahubali. You'll find everything is to capture the fort. So if an enemy is coming, you should have a fortified, city to be captured. Everything was established within. Okay, so that's an important part of the kingdom. Swami Amate Janapada Durga Kosha. Economics. What is a country which doesn't have wealth? Everybody will migrate. So how did India become the richest country in the world? We talk about all these statistics, GDP, and here's the formula. Make sure you have a great kosha, one of the most important pillars of Saptamba. Danda. Danda here means army or Sena. So you need to have a great army, and that's not enough. You also require good foreign policies or international relations, and that's Mitra. So a king should have good mitras. Look at what's happening today. The G7, G20s. So all the global leaders come together, shake hands, create forums, bodies, and the most famous one closer to our generation was United Nations, UN, right? Where post World War One and Two, they said, no, 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 we need to have a League of Nations where we can solve global problems. And with UN coming together, it's not just about that one country, it's about the whole globalized economy or the generation that we solve each other's problem. So if you look at the millennial goals, as we call it, you have to eradicate poverty, make sure everybody gets education, there should be no starvation. These are all global goals. And who decides that? all friends coming together. These leaders are all Swamis or Swaminis, and they not only look at their country, which is also included, but all the humanity put together. So, for a great kingdom, you should also have mitras with you, helping you, and you help them. So, it's a very interesting framework. Repeating the sutra again, one among 6,000 sutras. Swami Amatya Janapada Durga Kosha Dandamitrani Prakriteya. Summarizing the English translation as given below. The king, the minister, the country, the fortified city, the treasury, the army, and the ally are the constituent elements of the state. Make sure all of them are put together in the right manner, and you have a great kingdom, a great model of leadership. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you, sir. That gives us a little understanding of the Saptanga Sutra, as sir mentioned about. This is a sutra which we will focus upon during our program as well, which we will talk about as we go ahead. But then I would like to open up for some question answers, discussions, in case someone wants to ask something or discuss something. I see someone's asked about Kautilya's Arthashastra, which book do you prescribe? I would say yes, you should keep a copy of Kautilya Arthashastra. For us, it's like having a religious book. I mean, for me, that's our religious book, Bhagavad Gita. Everyone has, I would say, also have Kautilya Arthashastra. That's one text which you should keep whenever you find. And Arthashastra is not that you always need to. Ideally, yes, you should read it from the front to back. But then at times, if you just flip flop open any page and try and read a couple of sutras, it gives you a good insight into a lot of things for that matter also. So yes, do keep that available to buy or download. I would say do buy it, don't download it. Let's give the due credit to the translator or the interpreter in that sense, whoever has done the interpretation or translation in that sense. And yes, it's available everywhere. You can just type Kautilya Arthashastra on Google, Amazon, or Flipkart, whatever book selling platforms you refer to, you'll find it there.
And
Any question?
I would add, Dr. Pillai has written, I think, over 20 books on different
Yeah.
aspects of Chanakya. So if you search Dr. Pillai and Chanakya, you'll see a whole library. And so that might be also a good thing to look up. Maybe we can include some links in the email that'll go out to everyone after if there's any specific this is something that always comes up, right? What is the best translation? Who is legitimate? Who's actually representing the ideas properly versus, we know so much the Western interpretations or misinterpretations. So Dr. Pillai is the expert that we have, and I would recommend him. But then we'll also try and get some other links as well. We have Professor M.M. Gol. Please share. What is your question? What would you like to add?
Thank you, Ankur Patel, for introducing me to the wonderful people today. Today, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai should be proud of his student, Mr. Parna Patel, proved to be known to the world. And Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai will always be remembered as a teacher of Parna Patel. Ankur, I'm grateful to Hindu University, but I'm speaking from Kurukshetra. And I always say Kurukshetra is known to the world, sadly for Mahabharata, but I always say, remember Kurukshetra as a place to be the first ever university on the planet, because the objective of university is to get knowledge. And the best possible knowledge has been given by Lord Krishna himself in the form of Bhagavad Gita. Let me tell you, Bhagavad Gita is a ism neutral, religion free treatise on management and relationship management and welfare economics. Dr. Radhakrishnan, I am motivated to meet you as soon as possible. I am speaking from Kurukshetra. And let me tell you, I have come out with a concept, nidonomics, which is practically flowing from logo of LIC, Yogam Kshemam Mahamyam. And let me confess, I don't have a single LIC policy till today. But the moment I understood this Yogam Kshemam Mahamyam from my Guru Gita, the heart of Krishna, in shloka number 22 of chapter 9, where Lord Krishna says, Anyanya Chintanto Mayojana Priyupaste Tesham Nityavayuktanam Yogam Khemam Mahamyam. Meaning thereby, we have to believe, trust, and in Krishna as God, and whatever you need, you will be getting. Let me tell you, My need was created to be associated with Hindu University. And since I have been Vice Chancellor in 3 universities and trying to be available to people, I just request you with folded hand to you give me the opportunity to be associated with you, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pilleji and Parnab Patelji. You are in Gujarat, I am in Haryana, and we can join hands to popularize Hindu University not only in US but around the world. Although COVID era has internationalized Indianization, but still there is a lot of work to be done. I find out many similarities in philosophy of Kautilya in all literature you have produced, but for the modern world, we have to come out with the perspective of neuronomic school of thought, which is most relevant, which can bring global peace, which can bring sustainable development, and I believe that Vikshit Bharat be possible by only by understanding and adopting Neuronomic school of thought. So I request you to kindly associate me with your ventures, and I can also say something if you are giving me an opportunity, be making my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Goel sir. It's an honor connected with you. And Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. So you are from Kurukshetra, and we are all talking about Dharma and Artha. More than happy to collaborate. And it's an honor to be part of it.
Radhakrishnji, I am calling you by name, Dr. Radhakrishnan. Let me honestly tell you, there were 3 direct beneficiaries of Gita. One was Arjun, second was Sanjay, who was benefited more than Arjun. And when concluding Gita, Ek Shloki Gita, he says, Yatra Yogeshwar Krishno, Yatra Parthur Dhanurdhar, Tatra Sri Vijyo, Uttradita Netarmatramam. Meaning thereby, to move on the ladder of success in any walk of life with morality, opulence, victory, and empowerment, believe Krishna as God and Arjun as our own soul, and that is been called Ek Shloki Gita. But sadly, Arthashastra was a blind king. We are talking of giving training to the leaders, the kings today. But the third listener, through Sanjay, Dhritarashtra was being blind king. He even converted Dharmkshetra into Kurukshetra. And he was selfish enough. He could not see the message of Gita at all. Therefore, the blind kings around the world who are going in for war of words, blame game, and that can be stopped by making them smart and simple, which I promote in my lectures and practically believe that we have to find out the similarities between Chanakya and the present neuronomic school of thought, which I am promoting. My literature is available. I have done a lot of work. If you search in Google, you will find many things I have contributed. Thank you very much.
Thank
Wonderful,
you, sir.
Professor Goel. Go ahead, Radhakrishnanji.
Oh, I'm saying thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll connect with you offline. We'll see if we can have a webinar with you on this and follow up. As you can see, Pranav Bhai has shared a slide that shows I don't even think this is all of the books that Dr. Pillai has written
That's
applying
not all. In
Chanakya
fact, the
to.
last one is here. I just wanted to put it up. So well, just a moment. Here, there's the last one. This is the last one, which is it. And I think this is also old now, so we need a new one. So it's been a while since this has been there. So we need a new one now. So this is, I think, almost a year old now. So one more book to
Send
come.
it the latest updated one.
Wow, there you go. So yeah, there's something coming in.
And put
Right,
in the chat box.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I'll put in the chat box as well in the next few minutes, the latest updated list.
Sure, sir.
And as was mentioned a couple of times, right? Documenting, sharing, putting it forward. It's so important. And that's what we're at, why we have a Hindu University of America, to connect and share. And let's keep taking your questions and engage. Kumu Gupta ji from Boston had some initial questions about the time frame and some of the details. I think we got into that, right? About 2,300 years ago is the accepted time frame. Kumuji's asking why Nanda bad? Why was the Nanda dynasty bad? And maybe this can go into some of the origin story, the background of how and why and you got into it, the Sankalp and what he was about, and if you want to give some context to that.
I would say we'd not like to pull down anyone or not talk at things, but then as we have read or what we have seen even in the serials or the Mudra Rakshasa, which is the play written, which gives a little understanding of history at that point of time. Dhananand was more focused towards self. He was more of I, me, myself, kind of a king, and then he was taking those decisions which were anyone who raised voice against his was shut down. In fact. Chanakya's father, Acharya Chanak, was jailed to an extent, and the story, the history tells us that he probably even died in jail in that context. Not only that, the taxation system, the way he was collecting taxes, very evil to the people in that sense. So all those governing principles were all gone for a toss, and it was self-focused. He thought that I am God. That's where the challenge started happening. So and then Chanakya was the one who had to be, as a teacher, say that, oh, if this is the way the kingdom is going to be run, then no, I need to now step in and make sure that things start governing. So not only teach things in terms of textbooks, but also make things happen in practicality is what Chanakya made. So all those principles which he taught in his school, he said that is applicable, and he showed making them applicable to the world as well. So in that sense, yes, Dhananand was a challenge. How far back was Gita? Gita, again, different things, different vehicles. 8,000 years, a lot of people put in, different historians put in different years to Bhagavad Gita. So, but then 8,000 years is when Mahabharata is more or less a consensual things. People will go in lakhs of years and thousands of years at times. Ankurbai is nodding his head, so he'll say a few lakh years there. I don't know. We are not historians, and we are not carbon daters in that sense, so won't be able to comment much on that. But then yes, if we have to look at it, is more of the Treta Yuga is what we're talking of, and then the Dwapar Yuga. Sorry, the Dwapar Yuga is what we're talking of in terms of Mahabharata when Bhagavad Gita happened. So yeah, that's when we are. In fact, I'll tell you,
Yeah, I'll just
someone.
make a couple comments on that. We
Yeah,
had
please,
a
please. I
different.
know.
Oh, go ahead, finish, and then I'll
No, please,
on the
please, please,
time
please.
frame. Yeah, we
You've been
just
learning today.
tried to launch a course called the Geochronology of the Rig Veda. So this Jijit Raviji, and there's like different time frames where the different spaces of evidence, right? If you're looking at archaeology, at astronomy, of the Itihasa, there's some places where they align to say the Kurukshetra could have happened at this time frame or this time frame. So there's 8,000, I think there's 5,000, and about 2000 BC. So there's three kind of conflicting sets of historical schools of thought. And so as Hindu University of America, we're not going to say this is it, but we want to provide a platform so that different experts can share. And so this is so, and I like how you differentiate. This is regardless of the historical exact context. This is the stuff that we know for sure and how we can apply it. But how did Chanakya use the Bhagavad Gita? Was it clear in his Arthashastras, and where and how did he apply it?
No, in fact, what Professor Goyal was talking about, Yogakshemam Vahamam. Yogakshema is one principle which Chanakya specifically writes in Kautilya Arthashastra. In fact, he talks Yogakshema as in what? For the people, detached at the same time, not attached but involved. He says the king should be someone, Praja Sukhe Sukham Raja, Prajanam Tahitetam. Yeah, we keep repeating this sutra number of times, where Chanakya, Yoga Kshema, what Sri Krishna speaks of in Bhagavad Gita, is very widely practiced in Kautilya Arthashastra in that sense. In fact, there is a specific mention to Yoga Kshema as well. And from a yoga perspective, I tried writing a paper on that as well, a small a research article in that sense on Yoga Kshema, the Chanakya's model of governance. So yes, Bhagavad Gita's principles are definitely been used by Chanakya in that sense for sure. In fact, Sir would be the right person to answer more on that. So, Sir, please appeal.
So I think this debate is what we enjoy. but the learnings and application is something that is more relevant. Yes, do attend other courses where, the kind of astrological charting can be done. But I think that's one dimension to it. And I'm also interested in knowing history. Yet, this particular course will be philosophically based. So we're looking at leadership application. Yes, from 4th century BC to the beta generation and beyond.
Nice. This comes up regularly, and Rakesh Ranjanji, a student at HUA, had a chance to meet him at one of our retreats where we're having in-person retreats are at our HUA campus. Rakeshji, glad to have you on. And this comes up so often, right? When you talk about Alexander of Macedonia, and they call him Alexander the Great, but how come it is not well documented what happened in Bharat and how he was repulsed, right? And where do maybe we should write a little article on that and publish that and cite that. But how has that been documented? Where is the best evidence for that and some clarity? Because again, that's not necessarily a controversial topic, but definitely not so much clarity is on there outside of our group that we now are elevating. What do you think? Is there a source for that or
I mean,
that
sir
you would
would share
highlight?
with us in terms of there is a book on Greeks in India. So there's a researcher whom they had met when they had gone to, if I'm right, so you'd gone to Greek, and then that's when you met the person there who's researching on Greeks in India, because these are the people Greeks whose genes or the DNA is still following in India because of Alexander coming into India at that point of time. That's why he has documented it in that sense. Also, this Mudra Rakshasa, which we see as a text which is there, which also talks of Alakshendra. So his Yavana, as in the Greeks, the word used from the Indian perspective. So Yavana is the word as Greeks, and Alakshendra instead of Alexander. Again, obviously the dialects are different, so the pronunciations are different in that sense. So it also refers to this thing. History Channel has a documentary which they have made on Alexander, and that also talks of the same thing in that sense. There are a few things which I could share, but sir, more references from you, please.
In fact, there's a lot of research happening, and in most of the academic institutions, there are courses and subject of anthropology. As you know, anthropology is I would say, the subject of civilizational studies, origin of civilizations, as they call it. So if you go back, the one book that Professor mentioned, you can Google it. It's called Greeks in India. I was fortunate to represent India in the World Congress of Philosophy. We had gone to Athens, and there I met a professor. His name is Demetrius. Demetrius is a very, very common name in Greek culture. Like we have the two Patels here. So the Demetrius is like a very common name. So I was very impressed because he said, I did my PhD in BHU. So from Athens, he had come down, and his topic of research in India was Greeks in India. The output of that research actually brought out a book, and that's why when we went as a team to Athens to represent India in the World Congress Fair, he was very happy. And टूटा फूटा English, as they Hindi, as they say, आप हमारे देश से आए हैं. He used to consider himself half Indian. And then I said, how do we know about your study? That's why this book, maybe you can Google it, Greeks in India by Demetrius. So that topic is very common. Many people have written, but this one, academically well researched. So the historical, I would say anthropological story goes like this, that when Alexander came, remember, there are a lot of things to be learned from him also. Even though he was an enemy for us, he was very dynamic, great leader. He wanted to conquer. And unlike today, you go around and you're not even sure other part of the world whether you can come back alive. Of course, Chanakya defeated him. That's what we are proud of. But what happened? He did not accept defeat. So even though he was defeated, he went back, but he left behind his general Seleucus and say, wait for the right opportunity. Chanakya knew this and made sure that the daughter of Seleucus, Helenus, was married to Chandragupta Maurya. So even though you have a strategy, I have a better strategy. So one of the ways of ending war, Chanakya says in Arthashastra is interdining and intermarriage. So probably the first political marriage internationally. Now coming back to the research, when she was one of the queens of Chandragupta Maurya, the lineage that was left behind were the Greeks in India. And you'll be surprised, I have come across people from that lineage. In fact, in Gujarat, okay, there's a community, a very popular community called as the Bhanushali community. I don't know if you heard this surname, it's a very common surname. And the head of the Bhanushali community came to me. So there is a community almost around, I think, 50, 60,000, communities in Mumbai specifically. And they came to me and said, we are spread across India and we have our origin in Greek. So can you find out more? And they're very good research project, please fund it. Once you fund that project, I'll make sure I'll go to Greece also. So coming back, why am I telling you this book actually was a PhD topic of Demetrius, who actually went around. Of course, his 4 years is something as documented. So coming back, so I think India at that particular point was the melting point of the world. Like today, how America is, right? If you go to America today, I think every community and ethnic culture is there. So after 2 generations, you can't say, we can say Kamala Harris. But Kamala Harris has got an Indian origin, but she's an American. So let's say that she's also melted into American culture with an Indian DNA. After 3, 4 generations, you don't know. Now coming back, so we can classify it for academic interest and personal interest, origins and DNAs. We have another system called the Gotra system to find out your lineage. But the idea is that's a very interesting topic. I like to make one important point for those who actually want to know their Indian origin. Very interesting, because since you actually touched upon a very sensitive topic for every Indian globally. So I like to give a very interesting input. I did work with Government of India on various projects similarly, and the Ministry of External Affairs has an interesting project. You can actually Google it. It's called Finding Your Roots. So after 2, 3 generations, you don't know where my roots are. So you can still say, Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh and Kerala, that's fine. But the Government of India actually helps you. I remember this guy coming from, I think it was Fiji Islands. Yeah, I think Fiji Islands said, okay, I heard my great grandfather migrated from India, but we have no connections because, we were sent as a part of the colonial empire and all. My great grandfather is no connection. Can you help me? I said, I don't know. Go to the Government of India. He went to the External Affairs Ministry then. I'm talking about almost 20 years ago. And surprisingly, he went and met his so-called cousin brother of this generation in Uttar Pradesh. Because the UP Bhojpuri guys migrated to Fiji and they have their own Bhojpuri in Fiji. So coming back, Greeks in India by Demetrius is the book. But if you are interested in your origin in India, the Government of India can help you. Thank you, Pranav sir.
Wonderful. I love that tangent, but it's not a tangent because it's so interesting and engaging and at the heart of how it's relevant. So thank you for that and sharing some details. Arun Jain is asking, was the Kautilya Arthashastra consulted during the writing of the Indian Constitution? So right, we said it was kind of lost until 1905, and then it was rediscovered and reapplied. So maybe some conversation on that would be interesting. And then let me launch the quick poll. Let us know if you're interested in the course that'll be starting next week at this time. We had this webinar at this time because it is the same time as the course. Please let us know if you're interested in enrolling. I highly recommend it. This kind of conversation and answering questions and going through sutras by sutra and overarching understanding is exactly what Dr. Pillai and Pranav Bhai do in the course. And if you haven't taken an HOA course, this is definitely a good one to get started with. Please consider enrolling in this course starting next week. Yeah, it's an amazing course. Can't recommend it enough, especially if you're into this kind of conversation. So this is definitely the course for you. So on the Constitution,
I'll run through the course details. Let me do that. Yeah, I'll run through the course details, but before that, let me just give a quick response to that. Yes, Kautilya Arthashastra was definitely referred during the formation of the constitution. If you go to the constitution, the parliament library in New Delhi, where they have given, there's a gallery which talks of history of Indian constitution, how it was built. The first I mean, the picture which they have put is on Kautilya Arthashastra. They have referred to Arthashastra in that sense. But understand, the spirit of Kautilya Arthashastra might not have been completely been adopted or been looked into at that point of time. Because what I feel, again, this is my personal understanding or belief in that sense, that, we were at that point of time wanting to get accepted by the whole world, and we wanted to please the whole world. That's why we made a constitution where we went, oh, we'll take something from you as well, we'll take something from you as well. So we wanted that global acceptance as a country, because we are a newly formed country, just getting out of the British regime, and then a constitution was formed, and obviously a heavy hangover of the British era in that sense also, for that matter. So obviously the constitution was looked at something which wanted to be contemporary at that point of time. Maybe we missed out on our own historical significance or our cultural significance as Indians, that this is our Indian history, this is our legacy, and should be somewhere adopted. So yes, it was referred, but I don't feel, as in my personal opinion, that in the whole spirit of it, not only I would say Kautilya Arthashastra, for that matter, even Mahabharata and Ramayana. Mahabharata has huge reference to governance. In fact, Shanti Parva, where Bhishma Pitama teaches Yudhishthira in terms of how he should now, after the war is over, he should go about going and teaching. He go about and run the whole kingdom, for that matter. In fact, Rama teaches Bharata. If you look at the Kachit Sarga in Ramayana, where when he's gone to the forest, Vanvas, he goes, and then Bharat goes back running behind him. No, go, don't go, please come back. And Rama gives him his padukas, which is a very famous story. But at that point of time, he teaches Bharata, he gives him that lesson, that how should a kingdom be run. The whole concept of Ramaraja, which we talk of at times, also should be, we should. So those principles, somewhere, the spirit of that has been missed out, I feel, in our constitution building. As well. But it is referred, definitely, yes, it is. But maybe it's just, as we say, that lipstick service has been done. So, sir, some thoughts on you, and then I'll go into the program details which we are conducting next.
I think thoughts will go on and on, but I think we'll go into program details. I'm sure the questions we'll address, because I'm sure the time limitation is there for all of us, and
Sure,
they
sir.
have to go back to sleep for a great Monday morning.
All right, sir. So there we go. This is a program which we are doing 12-week course starting January 19th. That's next Monday for us, Sunday evening for people in the United States. We put EST, IST time. Others will have to match it from that perspective. So 12 weeks starting on January 19th, going on till March 30th. 60 minutes lecture, 30 minutes discussions is which we focus upon. During this course, the students will be required to submit presentation, 2 short essays, something you will just write down in terms of what you're learning, what your thoughts are, trying to bring in the present day relevance, how you are reflecting this learnings, because just going through a program like this is all right. It might be fascinating, might make you give you that feel good factor, but we want you to apply these principles in your practical day-to-day life, whether it's your business, your personal life, your work life, society, anything in your family. So that's what we try and bring out in the program, where we see that how we can start applying these principles. A short examination, multiple choice question, which is there in that sense. Who should attend? Senior executives, managers, people who are looking at getting into leadership positions, or people who are into public sector leaders or policymakers, governance perspective, academic scholars, researchers who really want to do something in terms of uh, Indian knowledge systems, and focus on Kautilya Arthashastra as a work, or maybe as just a reference work to understand. Entrepreneurs, business leaders, excellent book. Entrepreneurs are leaders in that sense. They are the ones who are super enterprising and bring things together for that perspective. So yes, those are the people who should attend. And obviously, leadership consultants, coach, trainers, so who would like to use these principles in their training programs and do consulting based on the principles of Kautilya Arthashastra should attend. This programs, as I said, starting from January 19th till March 30th. The course fee is $300. That is what the pricing is for this particular program. People who are doing other programs of HUA, this will get you 1.5 credit hours, which is as a part of if you're doing the postgrad program at HUA. In that sense, markings, different marking grading systems is what we focused upon here. And also there is a scholarship available. So scholarship available for students registering from the greater Bharat continent or Gir Mitra countries, as we say, and the APEC countries which are there. So Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Malaysia, Maldives, and Indonesia. So there is someone from Indonesia attending. So yes, there is a scholarship available for you. The fee is reduced to $100 for you, which brings it down to 67% scholarship. And then people from Mauritius, Seychelles, South Africa, Fiji, Suriname, Jamaica, Trinidad, this countries, others, there we go, 35% scholarship for them. So just write us an email, write Ankur Bhai an email about, you joining from that country and looking at scholarship. Hindu University of America is a non-profit organization. It's run not from a perspective of any profitability or any kind of money-making thing. It's always looking at bringing back our Indian knowledge to the world and reviving the whole system. So it's a non-profit organization. So I would request people to only apply for scholarship if it's really required and necessary for you in that sense as well. So these are a few things I thought I will just briefly give everyone. And I think that's about it from us. Ankur Bhai, some closing words for you from you on that.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. And that was a great outline of the course and the program. I'm sure we're going to get some folks to enroll and take the course. I like how you've developed. I know when I took it, you didn't have the multiple choice questions. It was just kind of just a presentation. But I really feel that applying the knowledge and making it relevant to people and then getting that going is going to be great. The recording of this webinar will be made available to everyone who registered. So if you joined late, you can review it afterwards. Again, just my pleasure to host and be with you guys, with all of you, the audience, and especially Pranav Bhai and Dr. Pillai. It is an online course, English medium, and I highly recommend it. It's just an amazing pathway, gateway, entry point into not just Hindu University of America, but Hindu thought, of dharmic thought, of history from Bharat. And so I can't recommend it enough. That is what I have to share, and so that's my closing thoughts. And if you each would like to share something to send our audience to, if you're in India, to start your day with, or if you're in America to go to bed with, please share.
Start the week with or end the weekend with, I would say, in that sense. But then I would like to wish everyone in advance a very happy Makar Sankranti and Uttarayan, as we say. So let's all together take this moment and with the upward rising of sun from the northern hemisphere, from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, try that we all also uplift ourselves and use these energies of sun when it is moving upwards daily for our betterment as well. And also on the last thought, I would like to congratulate Ankur Bhai on his wedding coming up in the next week. So wish you all the best and congratulations once again on that. Most probably I'm going to be there to see you and push you through to get married in that sense. So for sure.
Chanakya doesn't work there.
Chanakya principles for marriage, yes. No.
Definitely wish you a happy married life and very happy that you're settling down. Now you'll require more Chanakya for parenting and a great relationship ahead also.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Namaste.